So I remember in the late 80s, early 90s when Nintendo dominated the market. I was for sure a Nintendo kid back then. That's the console. Everybody had one. Everybody didn't have one was going to get one. After it came out and everything started, the cartridges was just coming left to right, left to right. Everything was coming out. I too hard was a Nintendo kid. I don't know, Mario, Zelda. I'm sorry, they were dominating back then, and I was a part of that crowd. Of course, I was a kid. I wanted to play Nintendo, but I was born. How do I word this? I was born into the house that Atari built. You get what I'm saying? Now, my familial relationships growing up, me, my dad, my grandparents. We were all the close ones. We were all the unit that kept each other going. And my old man got me the Nintendo. Looking back, I don't know how I talked him into that. My father's not that dude. He's about his music, his concerts, his jazz music, football, basketball. That's kind of it. That's his world. That's where those are the dimensions in which he chooses to exist. Perfectly fine. But he was not a video game head. Furthest thing from it. Think you could be doing other things. Anything. Think you could be doing anything else. Which I thought was amazing because growing up, you could be doing something else. It's just like you talk about somebody doing something else, but every time I see you, you go to work, go home, watch sports. Go to work, go home, watch sports. And he listens to all his oldies and jazz. He listens to all of that on his way to work and on his way home. Then when he gets home, football, basketball. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, you could be doing anything. If you watch those people that tell you that you could be doing something more productive, look at them. Are they doing something more productive? Just look at them for a second. If you are in a position to pay attention to them and their lives, really see if they are doing anything else that could be considered productive. What reading? Sports. You might crack a Bible open every once in a while, but neither here nor there. There was nothing else really going on. And I had to really grow up and really look back and be like, what are you doing? But anyway, the house that Atari built. Now, he didn't really give a damn about Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Super, all that stuff you don't care about. But that's not 100% accurate. See, my father grew up in the age of Atari, and he had an Atari, and we had an Atari. And he don't want to hear nothing about no video games. But if you bring up Pac-Man, if you bring up Mrs. Pac-Man, if you bring up Pong, if you bring up Donkey Kong, if you bring up Centipede, you get what I'm saying. This is the dimension in which he chose to live. Nothing wrong with that. Those are classics. Which brings us to this right here. Popeye. Now, Popeye was just basically a ripoff of Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong with different skins, if you will. This was his game. And eventually we got to the point where the Atari didn't work anymore and we didn't go get a replacement when they weren't printing them anymore. But I remember that my father was a big fan of it. The only reason I knew that is because we didn't have it on Atari. We actually, every time my dad would take me to Chuck E. Cheese had the old Popeye game. And while I was running around putting tokens in this, tokens in that, tokens in this, tokens in that, my father would always go into this little dark corner of Chuck E. Cheese that none of the kids went to. Not because it was dark and dangerous and no ish like that, but they had no interest in what was over there. Mrs. Pac-Man, which was honestly the one I would go to, Mrs. Pac-Man and the Popeye arcade game. And he stayed there the entire time playing Popeye, the entire time. And I'm a little bitty boy, but I notice things. I pay attention to things. And I noticed that every time we went, he would always play that. Didn't really mean nothing, but something I noticed. So I remember I had a neighbor. We used to exchange video games all the time. I borrow this one, you borrow that one. You know how it worked. The good old days. Let me borrow this one, I'll let you borrow this one, and that's how you keep yourself entertained. And it used to work out. But I remember those neighbors one time had a particular game, and it was Popeye. Popeye had been re-released on the NES. So I was like, okay. Next time my father comes up, because I stayed with my grandparents. My father had his own life, his own place, but he would come over there and visit, stay a couple of days once in a while, just because parents and whatnot. But I remember I said the next time he comes over, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go over there, borrow that game, and so on and so forth. And I timed it just right. So he was coming over. Okay, waiting for him to show up, park his car in the backyard. Okay, cool. And I went and got the game ahead of time, and I timed it just right. Make sure that when he come in the house, see me playing, hey, he come in, hey, John, see, playing Nintendo, yeah. And then you hear, you hear the theme song, and he's like, wait, is that Popeye? Yes, it's Popeye. And he's like, they got it on Nintendo? I said, yeah, I borrowed it from my neighbor. Oh, okay. Go in there, say hi to my grandmother, and then he go do whatever he gotta do. He comes back to the house, and he's once he got started on Nintendo, man, that was it. That was it. You couldn't get him from in front of it. Talking about my video game addiction as a kid. Oh my God. He burned a hole in the damn TV. Burned a hole in it. I remember one time, middle of the night. By the way, I don't remember what I traded them for, but I traded for that Popeye game on NES, like a permanent trade here. You want this one? Okay, cool. Let me have this one. And I made sure that was in my collection, so that when my father come over, he would have something to distract him from bothering me about things I'm not doing. And it worked for the most part. And I remember one time I was asleep in the middle of the night. I was asleep. It was the middle of the night. I'm knocked out because I got to go to school the next day. And I don't get to stay up, so I'm asleep. And while I'm sleeping, I hear my grandmother yell out my name. So it wakes me up, and I'm all like, God, what does she want? And I see this bright tube television blue light coming through, it bleeds through the house. It was just two TVs, bright. Came right into my room. And I hear her yelling, and I see the blue light, and I got to do like this. And I realize it's my father. He used to stay up in the middle of all times of night playing that damn game. And I get up out of bed, and I go walking towards her room because she's going to yell at me for being up when I should be asleep because I got school tomorrow. And I'm like, She's like, what are you doing in there? Ain't you supposed to be asleep? You got school tomorrow. And I'm all like, dude, I was asleep. You woke me up. Then what is that light I see in there? I'm like, that's your son in the kitchen playing Popeye on the Nintendo. That's what that is. And she's like, what the hell is he doing in there keeping all these lights on in the house? I'm like, I don't know. Why don't you go ask him? I'm going back to bed. What you want me to do? Go in there and tell my father to turn the game off and go to sleep? Is that going to work? She was like, oh. And I'm like, going back to bed. I got time for you. Oh my God, boy. Look at them memories, man. Video games are a waste of time. If I didn't have video game, I wouldn't have had that story to tell in the first place.